Howdy, folks. How you guys doing? Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another Saturday night Sci Fi Shadowchat. Tonight we're going to finish the discussion from 2 weeks ago about space travel in Shadowchat. Tonight we're going to finish the discussion from Hey. About can you kill that little man?
Whose YouTube is open?
That would be the little guy. Can you kill that?
YouTube is
We know
about that, folks, but my little squeaker off to my left or right, depending on how the case may be.
All he did was turn down the volume. That's all he did.
I know, right?
There's this thing. There's a thing called a headset, and you need to get one.
Oh, he's got a great one. I don't know why he's not wearing it. Why are you sideways?
Because he's been drinking.
Oh, because he better not. Oh, okay. There he is.
My question is, why aren't we sideways?
Omen, I promised Kai a spot, but if he wants to stay in chat, then you can take the spot. You guys could like thumb wrestle over the internet or what have you to see who gets to jump in. But I did promise Kai. Squeaker left. He better get back here, or I'll have to put up with both Omenal and Kai. I'll never get a word in edgewise. We were talking about sci-fi space travel in TV, movies, and role-playing games, and we went over like our favorite ships, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, our favorite starships, spaceships, that sort of thing. And I don't think we really got into actual, space travel. Starting with Kevin, what's your favorite? Let's use like I guess TV and movies. Hold on, let's get this guy in here.
I actually got in.
Well, yeah. Like I said, I promised Kai earlier that he was. I wanted him and my son to go back and forth and stuff, but he's going to stay in the chat from now. Unless my son comes up here and tells me he's got other things to do, in which case I'll just, lock him in his room anyways. But let's use TV and movies as a reference to discuss like our favorite form of space travel, not just for obviously in a role-playing game context, but visually and theoretically what we like best for our games, because I use them all because I have my gaming world is actually a multiverse, and I use all the different forms. Different planets have different ways of travel because, like in Traveler, they all have different tech levels. Different systems might use jump. Some might be stuck using rockets. But there's a few methods I've seen that were not just visually very appealing, but for game purposes, I like them. Kevin, well, what's your favorite?
I think, well, you kind of said movies and TV, and then you went into games. For movies and TV,
just translate from, let's say, like translating from TV and movies and implementing them, into your game.
So if it's implementation, we did talk about it a little bit last time, but I like the basically jump ship kind of interstellar travel. That's probably my favorite to run because it gives you a fog of war. But on TV and that kind of thing, I think my favorite in a TV show has been like Stargate.
I used to watch it, but are you talking like Stargate?
Like how you gotta basically dial the phone number and then like go through the through a portal. Like I think that works really well for a show. Okay. And using it in a game, how would you do that? The same way, more or less, just with different origins? Yeah, for Stargate, or if I was using it in a game, yeah, it would be, you would just have different, whether it was constellations or you're using some other kind of addressing, and you would just use it that way. And like for large things, because that was more for like people size, I guess for large things it would be about the same. You just have like a tower, put it in, or basically
or
like
a gigantic circle floating out in space or something.
You're using like it's kind of like a garage door opener, right, or something like that.
Like the puddle jumpers would go through that, which had to be a tight ass fit, but who doesn't like a tight fit, right?
Yeah.
Kevin, I have a question for you. Did you ever watch the old Buck Rogers?
I didn't. I have never ventured that far back into history, so I'm a little bit. I might be a little out of the loop with some of the people here.
Because I want to make sure, because they had something very similar when you went from one to the other. Is it would basically you go through a jump gate, which was large enough for a large ship to fly through, and then you would appear through the other side of the jump gate. So that's what I was just curious.
Are you talking the Gil Gerard or the old one?
The 70s.
Okay, so Gil Gerard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for TV movies, that's cooler. But I think the jump ship, in terms of playing it in a role playing game, I think that's my favorite. Something like BattleTech. I'm trying to think if there's any movies or TV shows that use that kind.
There was a cartoon, but I can't remember almost anything about
that. There actually was a BattleTech cartoon. You're right, and I can't remember any of the jumping. I just remember them like doing little vignettes on planets and stuff.
Right.
And I was just talking about. I'm trying to remember the old jump, like you're talking about, where it was the old FTL, but you couldn't see anything, and you would. But they could detect like a wave. I'm trying to remember, because there's Renegade Legion which had it, as well as you could detect a jump depending on how far they jumped at any one time.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I was just curious, because I know they do different things, but I think that BattleTech and Renegade Legion, both by FASA, were looking at that. Because I remember looking through like, well, if you do small little jumps, they don't detect it very far, but if you do the really long jump, it sends a wave very far out. So, I was just curious.
Yeah, really, for me, it's kind of like it's the ability for them to jump almost instantaneously, but so basically they can get a ship to move faster than even like communicate or anything like that, but then they would have to wait for extended period before they could do it again to go interstellar.
And Connor?
Well, back in the 70s, I had heard of hyperspace. Didn't know much about it till I saw Star Wars. And that scene where the stars stretch as lines on the screen.
They've got
that was the first time I'd seen something like that. Because even the video games back then weren't doing that kind of graphics. And I thought, okay, that's hyperspace. That's cool. How long is it going to take to get to where they're going? And basically, the kid's playing around with a lightsaber, someone's playing a board game, and then they're there in the asteroid field where the planet used to be. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's like maybe it took them an hour to get where they were going. Because in Traveler, it takes a week to get somewhere. So it's more like Dark Star, where you have to like find something to do so you don't go cabin fever. But in Star Wars, it seems to have just enough time where you don't go cabin fever. You can get yourself ready, and then poof, you're there. You're there. You come out of hyperspace. You're ready to game on, planetary bombardment, whatever you want to do. I'm assuming Star Destroyers work the same way as the Millennium Falcon. They have the same engine, same technology. So they just hyperspace where they need to go.
Yeah. That's what it seems like. Yeah.
But I don't know, how did communication work in Star Wars?
It seemed to be pretty damn fast.
I think what it was is they had these like really small hyperspace lanes for like the waves to travel through or something like that. I don't remember, but something like that.
Because they were talking to the Emperor, who's like on another planet somewhere.
Yeah.
In real time.
Yeah.
So I was curious how that works. I don't know if they ever explained that.
I think they did, but it either didn't make any sense, or they didn't explain it at all, or they just did both and didn't care.
Because in Star Trek, the captain always says to the communications officer, "How long will this message take before it hits Starfleet headquarters?" They usually say 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah, so there's fog of war in Star Trek, but yeah, in Star Wars it just seems like it's just magic. They can literally call somebody on the other side of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it seems to work.
Like Omen said, hand waved.
Yeah.
Because in
I'm okay,
Traveler,
Dave.
your mail travels as fast as you do, so there's no
Yeah.
radio signals are still used in Traveler.
Mm-hmm.
So, Connell, how about you? I know you don't run any sci-fi games, and you probably haven't really played in anything but what Starfinder.
No, I'm actually in a couple I wouldn't say they're RPG games, but there's definitely sci-fi based at least. The 1960 something Starfleet combat. The combat.
Was that the 60s or was that the 70s?
I don't
The
know.
game.
I don't know off the top of my head. I think they said 60s, but it might be in 70s.
I don't think the game came out in the 60s.
There's also
Is it Task Force Games or something?
Yeah, I've got an original copy, and
that's the 70s.
I don't think it's from the
okay. Starfleet
70s.
Battles came out in the 70s. All right. Okay. Well, either way, the game's older than I am. Well, yeah, in theory, the game is older than I am. I play that one. I play Babylon 5. So they're not RP games. They're just combat. You get amount of points, and you have to figure out, where they're going to go. It's fun, but there's not like the games. None of the games are story driven. It's just how does the Klingon ship do against like the Federation and the Romulans both freaking cheat in that game. Plasma based weapons, my ass. Anyways, actually, there was this horror movie that came out in the 90s, Event Horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
guy.
was wondering if anybody's going to bring that one up. That's just loaded with possibilities.
I like the concept of it, of how their drive basically. I don't want to say fold of space. It's been forever since I've seen the movie, but they were able to jump, and they jumped one too many jumps, and they ended up in a hell-ish dimension, I guess. But I like that ship, and I want to go back to Babylon 5 because as I've been watching, I can't get past season 1. But as much as I've been trying to get past season 1, I've been looking into the ships, and the way that they fly is very interesting because it's the most realistic to the technology that we have now, because they have the human ships, at least the fighters have all these little ports on them that thrusters that are able to move them side to side, up and down like that. And there's been a couple things I've seen in the past where saying the Babylon fight scenes, at least with the fighters, is more realistic than any other sci-fi show that's ever been out there.
Yeah, they were very well thought out.
So, I mean, I like Event Horizon as a mothership, a generation ship kind of theory, but when it comes to like, itty bitty, not itty bitty, but as individual spaceships or fighters, I should say, I like the Babylon 5 fighters. Yeah, I think they're really well thought out. So,
how about you, Owen?
Oh, there's so many, and I don't want to take up too much. Here's what it comes down to: what kind of adventure do I want? Because star travel interstellar travel determines tactics. So, for example, if you have a we'll say Star Trek. For Star Trek, you can catch someone in interstellar space. But because it's a warp, they can identify it. They travel pretty much in a linear path. There's nothing that happens in between. But if you're looking at jump gates or some of these others, and I know that Chimerian mentioned this as well, if you do some of these others where it's a point to point, then of course the answer is that you're going to defend only worlds for the most part, and then you may have listening stations. And Shauna, I don't know much how. I've only looked at the 2300 by Mongoose. I don't know if you've looked at that, but I like on how they were discussing their interstellar travel, which is based on gravity wells. I don't know if you've looked at that either, Shadow. The gravity well.
Do they still use like a stutter warp or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Is that basically once it gets within a certain gravity, they have to slow down to sub light speed. But when they're outside of the gravity well, then they can move at a much faster speed. So it really determines on what type of weapons you want to deal with. You know, beam weapons would be fine, but weapons like rockets just won't work in that case. You'll just move too fast. And I think those are interesting aspects of when we look at it. From a personal standpoint, I think I kind of like the FTL stuff that we have from Renegade Legion, which is it does put out, how far do you want to stealth in or not? Is depends, and you put out listening stations, and it has a lot of tactical aspects from that part. But the type of game I like to play is let's go from world to world and explore, unknown worlds or ancient worlds that aren't there, and that's what I like from a gut feeling. But man, you tell me the type of FTL travel you have, and then let's start talking the tactics and how the world will be built. And the other thing I really like is anyone that's ever dealt with Dune, where they fold space. And if you actually, when you read the book, they multiple enemy ships can actually be in the same cargo hold, and they don't know about each other because they're so big. And I kind of like some of those. I like all these different ideas. I'm not saying which is my favorite. It just depends on the system and how militarily do I want it, and how much Pulp Fiction, do I want, and I think it goes from there.
I just got done watching not Buck Rogers, Buckaroo Banzai, and that movie is a trip. And when it gets to like the spaceships, they're the most ugliest things I've ever seen, but they were really cool looking at the same time. Haven't you guys seen that movie in a while?
Decades.
It's been 20 years since I've seen it.
Oh, that movie's
I remember some of it.
You mean where they go into a completely different dimension? Which
I thought that was cool, but actually they're spaceships. It's like they have two chairs that are on a lazy Susan, and they just like spin around. And like the captain was like I should say helmsman was flying the ship using his hands and his feet. It was just really weird. I mean, this was like the last half of the movie. And I'm like, this movie is just weird to begin with. And when they got into the ship itself, it looked like somebody threw mud on a crab and sculpted it together that way. And it was just a really weird. I mean, I'd watch it again. But it's a really fucked up movie.
So what? Big deal.
I do think though, and this is what Shauna had mentioned, is I want space travel to take time, or have regulated routes, because that makes the exploration off of the unknown routes or out at the edge of the universe a little bit more interesting. And that's because I do love, for me, whenever we're talking about role playing or anything else, is I want this sense of mystery and have we gone too far? Is there a chance of not coming back? I want there to be that edge that makes people go, you don't really want to go there because the people who inhabit it or the dangers that are out there are very different. And I mean, they do a little bit with Firefly. Of course, it's all human for the most part. But
Right.
So, Omen, now, how do you do the edge stuff? Like when they show up back at Earth and Earth is 2,000 years older now?
Oh, I like to have a little bit more, but otherwise if I'm going to do it where if we're going to do like realistic time frame, if I'm doing years and years, which I've never done, at that point, we're just playing a different game. I mean, it's like, oh, why am I going to have? That's the way I feel about it. It's one thing.
That's if you're literally going faster than light. But if you're just doing a warp, like a what do they call it? Like you're going through a bubble or you're going through a wormhole. Things age the same speed that you do, so everything's fine. But the minute you go faster than light, that's when you start screwing up things as far as relationships with other people, because they won't exist.
Oh, you're only supposed to have
Right.
relationships with the people that your merchants and the people on your crew. That's it. Nobody else is supposed to exist. They're just like, well, isn't that the whole point of like for Firefly? Is like you try getting as far away from the core worlds as possible, so they don't have to screw with those pricks.
Now, how
Yeah.
did their ship work? Did they have like a jump of some sort that they did? I can't remember.
No, in Firefly, it was a long, drawn-out travel. They had the engine, and yeah, that was about it. You know.
So they just flew around like a rocket ship from planet to planet in the same star system? Because I think they were in
Yeah.
the same star system.
I
don't know because they went from star to star though.
Yeah.
Wait. Firefly?
yes,
Yeah.
they went
Map
I
somewhere.
am pretty sure they're pretty much in the
Stars-
same.
It's a hokey
Because they're-
pokey universe they use, but it's got like
Well,
3
they're-
stars and about 40 or 50 planets all orbiting each other.
Really?
I thought they were in the same galaxy.
It all fits
Well,
on one
yeah,
poster.
But but going from star to star doesn't mean going from galaxy to galaxy.
Right. No, I'm
No,
saying
you
all
just-
the planets they went into is in one galaxy. Or
Like if Jupiter was a star and you had those moons around Jupiter turned into planets, that's how you end up with the Firefly universe.
I think Firefly is very similar to 2300. There's a certain limited number of systems out there, and you're not traveling that far. I think what is Traveler 2300? It's only like 50 light years or something total across.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But it's something like that. It's you have several small planets around there, but it's not expansive. It's not. I'm just using that as an
It's not like
example.
Star Wars.
Well, Star Wars was like the entire galaxy.
Yeah.
That's no. It's much smaller. It reminds me of.
Yeah, I was
Shadow,
just saying it
remember
wasn't
this?
like that.
It was like Star Frontiers, where you had a certain number of worlds that were 12 to 20 or something. I think it was very similar with it's very similar for 2300, and it's very similar for Firefly. You had the inner core worlds, and then as you went out further, you didn't. But yeah, they were different. They were different systems, but I assume that they just traveled faster than light in there.
So Jackie, how about you? I know you haven't seen much, and most of it's been Star Wars and a few other things like Silent Running, which was pretty slow ass travel. Anything you want to add?
Well, not really. I mean, I'll say that I feel like I get that the whole you go faster than light, then time just starts breaking apart, doesn't make sense. You go back and everything's 20, 50 thousands of years in the future. And I get that's how it would work. I just don't like it, specifically because it would, I mean, unless it's an essential part of the plot, it just doesn't feel like, it feels like it's too convoluted. I mean, of course, if you're running a game, I get that. And if it's part of the story, sure, as well, that makes sense. However, it just doesn't feel necessary. It feels like it takes away unless it is specifically put there to add.
I think I agree with Jack on this. It's not that I don't mind generational ships, but you are combining yourself, and the question is how sci-fi do you want it to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a generational ship, that's one thing, but that just means the generation ship is going from point A to point B, and when you get to the new world, it's going to be survival exploration kind of thing, which is different than like a Firefly, or if we really want to get into the Traveler Star Frontiers, or even Alien, where I'm going over, it's like, oh, I want to explore new worlds.
If you want to do a small ensemble cast, you probably don't want to do it on a generation ship unless Basically it's just a it's a sci-fi soap opera at that point.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's basically just like people living in a city together.
But Shauna, isn't that what you do? A lot of generation ship adventures.
He left. He's doing something.
Okay, I'll get back to that question. With me, I really liked the visual aspect of what it looked like in the warp from Babylon 5. That the way they did the, I know, the technology is pretty old, CGI, but I really liked that weirdness to it. It gave me the impression that, there could be actual life forms just living there, kind of like, almost like a Dungeons and Dragons-esque sort of alternate plane or dimension, but at the same time it had, some math and physics behind it that made it seem like it was like, a sort of what was that movie again? Event Horizon, kind of a dangerous hellscape sort of feel to it. You could do it, but you had to be real careful. And then one thing I really actually liked a lot about Star Wars was when, the regular hyperspace, that was cool. But I really liked that gadget that Obi-Wan had to sort of attach to his Jedi Starfighter, that sort of ring thing that helps his ship go like really far distances. Now, mind you, the actual hardware did not seem like enough material and gadgetry to make it work, if you know what I mean. But I like the fact that they thought about, well, let's take this smaller ship and add, more or less a disposable device for, like a one shot or maybe a couple of shot, you can come back to it, maybe charge from, solar rays or something like that. But that idea of having sort of a disposable way to turn a smaller vehicle into a little bit faster vehicle. Shauna, when you were away, I tried asking you, you run a lot of generational ship adventures, right? One shots?
Yeah. Yep.
What is the big draw to that? Because to me, it seems like it could end up being very much like an episode of I was going to say Deep Space Nine, or even Babylon 5 to an extent, or
like,
even
you got parts of the ship that are, you could do the ship where the whole ship could be like a dystopian ancient ruin. The people in the ship don't know they're on a ship. Or you could do a Logan's Run, or you could do Blade Runner. You have Blade Runner going on inside the ship. They're going off world, and these are people that spent money. They're leaving Earth. They're going off world, one of these colony ships, and new horizons await them. And you ever see that movie Cargo?
no.
The frozen people that are being told they're going to awaken years later at some paradise world.
Oh, okay. I was thinking another movie. Sorry, no, that was Elephant Drop.
It's the movie it's a German East German movie. Anyway, it came out in 2010.
It sounds like a lot of your one
it's
shots
called Cargo. And it's got a twist at the end. It's like a Twilight Zone, and that's what I like about generation ships. It takes forever to get there, and then you arrive, and either the ship's gone wild, or the planet is not what it's supposed to be when you get there, or it's in the future, so everyone else has already populated the place before your ship even arrives, because now there's faster than light travel.
Have you ever read Metamorphosis Alpha? Metamorphosis Alpha?
I got the rules. I've been looking at them still. It's just the text is so dense.
Right.
It's like
I've always
a newspaper.
wanted to get a copy of it, and it was one of the, for lack of a better word, one of the original sci-fi games back in the day, and so many people, reference it or, talk about it one way or another. I was just kind of wondering, your thoughts on it, because I know it.
I don't know how the mechanics I don't know anything about the mechanics or the character
No,
generations.
I'm not really
I just,
worried about the mechanics. I'm
I just,
actually
I
more
just read
curious
about
the.
the. It reminds me of the Starfleet technical manual that came out in the mid '70s.
I've got two
Showing-
copies of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you remember the Starbase chapter, it shows how a starbase works and all the different levels
Right.
for the starbase. Orbiting, it orbits so that you have gravity and all that kind of stuff, or it spins or whatever. That's what the ship reminds me of, because it's got artwork for each deck plan, and each deck plan is huge, like the size of Manhattan or some crazy nonsense. Anyway, you can have a million people living inside that ship.
Speaking of that, all I can think is Dark City.
Yeah.
Because that's where it's set on as well as this, and the people don't even know it's there.
I like stories where people don't even know they're on a ship, like the Star Lost. And each section has different cultures that have evolved over time. But
Right,
one
Sorry, I'm
day
laughing at what I was
one day
laughing
I'll
at what
watch
Kyle was
the
saying.
Event Horizon.
What was that, Shawner?
One day I'll watch Event Horizon.
I saw it when the movie came out, like in the late '90s. I saw it in theater. Because
the way it was advertised, it was like a supernatural haunted spaceship.
It was
that
like
that doesn't want me to watch the movie.
Well, you know what? Speaking of, and I know Shadow was talking about this. Anyone that's looked at the 40K, when they travel through warp space and things sometimes leak through.
Yeah,
and that's where you get into your demons or whatever. And I actually liked it better when the original Rogue Trader came out, because they would talk about vampires and these things were from the warp, and they would come in, and I enjoyed that. It's not until they really went full fantasy 40K that you looked at it, but I really enjoyed the stuff from Rogue Trader, where they talked about, they would have certain force fields, things would get lost in the warp. They may appear before or after they actually left, and sometimes people were lost for thousands of years and come out not knowing it. I like that idea. I'm not saying I want it for every game, but I do like that idea.
It seems like all that stuff is a continuation of like Eldritch Space, like space, like this horror space outside of like regular space, and pretty much everything there is.
I use that too in my Traveler. Yeah, the rogue dark planet that comes and orbits our star every 10,000 years or something. Kind of like that thing in Fifth Element.
Yeah.
And Cthulhu lives on that planet.
There you go. Or
and
Cthulhu is that
his
planet.
cult. He's hoping for his cultists to worship him as his planet orbits the new sun or whatever,
Right.
And every 10,000 years, the solar system replenishes itself, or gets a reboot, or Earth gets a reboot, or something. Who knows? Or every 10 million years, something.
Yeah, if we were on the quantum show right now, I'd go off on all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories. But
of course you would.
Yeah, of course I would. But the night is young.
But Prometheus had a similar thing, because it's based on H.R. Giger, which is based on Cthulhu, the biomechanism of the alien and how its life cycle works. Then you have this retcon thing about the engineers coming up with the whole idea of the alien in the first place and how they created life in the galaxy or whatever.
I don't remember that much from the Alien movies. I just remember that the weird retcon stuff was all really dumb.
It's like, why are you ruining my alien lore with this Prometheus film of yours?
Oh, it was horrible, especially after you saw the graphic novels that they had from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you went,
why couldn't they do that?
I mean, I thought that
should have done that.
I thought the AVP stuff, which is more kind of like a what would you say? It's kind of like more of a Gonzo crossover kind of thing. I mean, honestly, that seemed like a more fun way to do it than just getting
Well,
all.
it was a Dark Horse comic thing,
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of part and parcel to that. Don't get me wrong; I'm grateful for Dark Horse reprinting the John Carter Marvel comic books in one big gigantic volume, so my originals don't get all chocolate stained every time I read them, or waterlogged when a certain little kid leaves the sink on. Oh yeah, you probably don't remember that, do you, buddy?
Why would I remember such a thing?
Okay,
That
good
is
for
a
you.
fair question.
And AVP
Oh, he was like 3 years old, and he left
Yeah.
the sink on. And I always have some reading material in the restroom, so I had a copy of the John Carter omnibus, on the counter, and it just soaked it up like a sponge.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I was not
AVP,
happy.
Not as bad as when the water heater burst.
yeah,
It's true.
AVP made a good video game too. It was a good
Well,
action video.
The thing with the God, who did the artwork? You guys said his name like twice already.
H.R. Giger.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of his artwork. I've been to I haven't been there, I should say, but isn't there like a bar in the Amsterdam that has his artwork, and a lot of it was cool, but there's bits and pieces of that artwork that I don't think they could have allowed in there. Fairly phallic and going into like mouths that I don't remember. I don't think 1980s Hollywood was that brazen quite yet.
Well, it was surrealism.
It was.
And in Europe, it's more acceptable than over here, I guess.
Well, this country was founded by a bunch of prudes.
It's true.
But you also have to look at the other part, which is, that's part of the horror aspect. When you start looking at Alien, was by making it that it violated you. It wasn't just a simple,
right?
The face hugger. Yeah, I was watching an interview when they came up with the concept of face hugger, and the guy says, "Well, we wanted to have them. We had to have something that would make men afraid of rape." So we came up with a face hugger. I'm like, wow, thanks for sharing. I think I'll find something else to watch.
I guess.
It's the face hugger is what scared me as a little kid more than the alien itself.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because it could hide in things, and you're like, oh, I don't want something bursting out of my chest, at least.
When I was a young man, I got to go to these model guild meetings for Hollywood. And before anybody ever saw the behind the scenes for the Alien movies, before the director's cuts and all that, I got to, I was talking about it in a video we made last week about the space jockey. I actually got to touch the model that I wasn't supposed to, but anytime they tell me not to touch something, I'm gonna. But I got to see how they made the face hugger with crab and lobster and lamb, like guts and intestines and stuff. And I'm like, every time I watch that now, I'm just like, man, it's not so scary anymore. I mean, it's still pretty creepy.
Well, that's the thing about monster movies. It's like you don't have to show the monster movie or the monster that much. Like Tremors was actually a better movie than they wanted to make because they had a limited budget.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of it was
amazing.
A lot of it was very environmental. It's like, they couldn't really show the bug or show the worm that often. So, and like one of the scenes is like, it's like the worst like overlay scene you've ever seen. Like the none of the chroma matches, like none of the lighting matches, and it's like and it wasn't like even a pivotal scene. It was just somebody like pumping it with a shotgun. They could have totally taken it out.
Yeah. The same thing applied to Jaws, because they couldn't show it as much. It made a much more terrifying film.
Oh,
it's funny you mentioned that, Omanal. Jaws and Alien still take the cake every year when they vote on what was the scariest movie of all time. It fluctuates between those two movies for the past like 20 plus years. it's either Alien or Jaws.
And the
Maybe-
thing,
Jaws
the
is dumb.
scene,
The big
the
shark.
scene in Alien where it's just hanging there, and if you don't know what it is, you don't see it. Because that's a what do you call it? That's like a human, like you don't register something unless you can map it to your body or understand it as like a tool or another being or something like that.
Like how we look at clouds and see things that aren't really there.
Yeah,
Or
so it's
toes.
like so like if something's so weird that you can't identify it, then it's kind of the opposite. It's like you can't see it until it becomes something, like it started attacking something. And that makes it like, yeah, it's like somebody that doesn't know that that's going to happen. Like that's about as scary of a scene as you could put together.
Well, you know what?
Go for it.
You know what made Alien so scary? Because I have the soundtrack. Is the music, and having there's so much that it builds up on that tension. That's number one. I absolutely love Alien. Because of that, you're not familiar with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You feel claustrophobic. These are not badasses, unlike when you get into Aliens, where they're all carrying guns. I'm like, look, I'm not that scared. If you give me, if I have my rifle ready, I'm not that scared. It's either you or me, But if you're coming in and you're going, yeah, I hate saying it. I don't care if it's a bear or I think the really scary thing about Jaws is whenever you go swimming, is your feet don't touch the bottom and you can't see that far, and it just comes out of nowhere. And the other part that makes Jaws so scary is, it's real. It's happened to people.
Yeah.
Sorry,
the music. I mean, to go with what you're saying, the music on Jaws, it's better on the violin. Anyways, it sets some motion in your head, like, okay, something that's going to happen. Then when nothing happens, oh, okay, it might have been a minor scare. Then, boom, there it is.
But Alien has more ambience too. Like they don't
Yeah.
just have music, but it's like they have a lot of ambience because it's on a spaceship that that you don't know. It's kind of like the opposite. They're like opposites, but they're both horror because like Alien is about what you don't know, and Jaws is about what you know, like kind of taken to the next level.
Well, both movies have this one great thing to amplify their horror, and that's being humans being completely out of their element. Space and water, places, we can't really survive very long, one less, for very long periods of time without a whole lot of help. Space, you got, fractions of a second, and in water, how long can you tread it? So between those two things, you throw in then, a monster, and you've got the recipe for, absolute horror.
Well, it's a microcosm. It's a microcosm of the life cycle, right? Because it's like if you're in one of those places, it's like you're being confronted with the possibility of death in a much smaller package than just regular life.
The other aspect is, Alien seems familiar enough when you start looking at what certain animals do. If anyone's ever seen what is the tarantula wasp? Where it stings you and lays its egg in you to eat at you. I mean, there's certain things in there, but the other part that comes into it is there is a claustrophobic aspect to it, and you can't see. If it's out an open plain, it's very, very different. But oh my God, when you're trying to go through it, we've all been in warehouses and the lighting's not that good. And you're all alone, and you might hear something that might be a rat. You're just like, what is going on out there? And yeah, it's you definitely get that feeling.
It's environmental horror.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just like if anyone that's ever gone into an abandoned, whenever you look at these abandoned sky rises that are coming through, and I mean, a perfect example. Not that I've ever been, but just seeing what's there is Chernobyl. And if you go there after dark and someone's, and then you start being hunted by something you can't identify, oh yeah, that'll terrify you to death.
Well, just anywhere that it has a fiction or true stories around it that have to do with being haunted or being what's the word, occupied by things. Yeah,
You-
that'll add to it.
Oh God, there was it was a some not all towns, but some major cities will have like these old haunted buildings, and for some damn reason is I am not one of Captain Kirk's low children. Sorry, I just read that. But some towns out there will have like the haunted house, or well, 2 towns over in Bartonville, Illinois, there was a haunted asylum that for some reason the whole coming of age thing for young men was to go in there, not spend the night, but spend as long in there as you possibly can without shitting yourself.
Right.
Because the horror story, I mean, some of the stories that came out of this place are absolutely true. These the patients there were mistreated. The staff was horrible to them, and in psychological, not psych, in the medical field, especially back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, when it came to the mental health, was not great. And you go in there and you think you hear something, even if it's a rat running across the ceiling or dripping of water, you'll shit yourself. I mean, I'm not saying you shit yourself, but there's enough ambulance, like what you're saying with Jaws and Aliens, that will set your imagination just off. There's just no way around it. Even if there's nothing there, there's something there.
Yeah, and Al said something about not being basically the apex predator in those places, not top of the food chain. Yeah, that's kind of it too.
And the biggest fear is what your imagination comes from.
Yeah,
it's funny because once you see the monster, you actually feel a little bit more relieved.
Yeah,
it's waiting for it. I always hated that watching any horror film. And another one talking about that I was thinking of was Descent. Where they have those women go down.
Oh, with those human, they are human, but they've gone. Yeah, that's a weird ass movie.
Well, and no matter what we have, the big fear we have is if we lose light.
Yeah.
You don't have good lighting, that makes a big difference. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been out in the field and I heard some pigs. And I'm like, oh fuck. I'm not gonna lie about that, but
well, that's the thing too. Is a lot of just other animals, they can operate a lot better than we can in the dark because they do have a good sense of smell or like something else that can help them out. And we're kind of weird, honestly, as mammals in the way that our eyes work. It's a lot more like birds. But it's so it's like if you hear just like another animal that you can identify or something like that, I mean, they're kind of got the upper hand on you if you can't see.
I remember talking to some lady from Chicago, and she was so terrified going out in the woods. And I grew up with all the sounds of owls and stuff. And she said she was so terrified that she was in the Army. She hid under the truck just to make sure. And I went, really? I don't even think twice about it. It's just like snakes. I'm like, I don't really care. Just out my way. You have to be careful of them, but I don't get terrified.
That's more like you step into a log that they are in, and it's like you almost have to be on top of them for them to not want to just get away from you.
I have a friend who served in the Marine Corps, and he hates spiders. God, does he hate spiders? And he's over, as he calls it, the sandbox. And they tell, when they first get there, it's like, well, some of the indigenous life is going to be weird, but there's these things called camel spiders.
Dude, I knew you were going to say that. They are freaking nasty.
They're utterly harmless. Don't worry. Just, leave them alone. They leave you alone. Well,
that's a load of crap.
He's telling me what they told him.
Yeah.
All right. Don't get on me. Don't get on me. This is what what he told me. They told him. Well, he's there for a while, and he sees a broken broom, and he shaves it down to a point, and he stabs one, and flips over. The moment it flips over, it looks like a face hugger.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
And he had a couple people take a picture. He have a couple guys take a picture of it, and actually, he got in his CEO told him to, knock the shit off more or less before anybody higher up saw it. But yeah, it's like one of his favorite pictures he has on his wall from being over there. And I saw the picture, and he's like, yeah, that thing does look like a face hugger.
Oh,
Yeah, those things are gnarly.
Speaking of which is just for creepiness. Does anyone remember the Temple of Doom and the girl having to put her hand in with all the bugs? Oh, I can see Connell just your reaction right there. It just says it. You're like, you got to put your hand in there. You don't know what's going to bite you.
I'm not. Spiders don't bother me so much. It's just sticking your hand into sticking your hand.
We are going to die.
Yeah, sticking your hand into anything that you're not, into anywhere, and you're not aware of what's going to happen. It's
Yeah, but that's not her hand. That's like some stunt double's hand. So it never bothered me. It's like, oh, come on, really? Bugs, really?
Well, Shutter. It's always me imagining me putting my hand in there. I don't care who else did it. It's
I hated that movie. The main character died like in the first 2 minutes of that film, and the rest of the movie he was just a ghost.
What movie?
He's talking about Indiana Jones.
Temple of Doom.
Doom, yeah.
He falls. They fall. They fall like 10 stories or where they died. Boom. And then they have this dance scene or whatever. And then they die again when they come out of a plane with an air raft, and the air raft blows up and it hits the ground really hard. They all should have died right there.
Yeah.
That's twice. That's twice they died in that movie.
Yeah, but see, that's why they're it's Pulp Fiction, right? It's just like you just kind of
bad enough. In the first movie, they never say how he held his breath riding on that submarine.
Well,
explain that.
In World War II, they don't dive unless they're going to be attacked. I mean, all the submarines rode on the surface for long periods of time.
Yeah, they're just boats parts of the time.
Okay, guys, I got another question.
Okay, yeah.
Getting back to actual space travel.
I to do something. What's happened? I see the pinned comment, and now I'm intrigued.
James and L, humorously enough, were discussing their favorite nightmare fuel, basically spiders.
Yeah, camel spider.
I'm not going to sleep tonight. Thanks, guys. I'm not a fan of spiders. I'm not a fan of bugs.
Story. I was in biology class, and the teacher had these jars with animals in them. Like it was a bird, fetus, a freaking lizard, and all this stuff. And my friend, who's been recently DMing for my game that I've been in recently, we needed to categorize them and split them up into different groups. And then I pick up the jar with a dead spider, and I'm looking at it and I'm analyzing it. I turn it around and I'm like, yes. Oh wow, it's missing 2 of its legs. And then he just looks at me and goes, "What the fuck?" I'm like, oh, what did I do? You're just holding these jars. You're just looking at this spider like it's nothing. Oh yeah, that is kind of weird.
You know what's really weird? Picking up a lizard by its tail and watch what happens.
Oh yeah.
I've actually had that happen.
Yeah,
I've had that happen. That is just like wacko.
I always thought that was nature's way of saying "fuck off."
Now,
I think it is.
Everyone talks.
I always picture Robin Williams saying, "Fly, my friend, be free." Because it's an escape mechanism. It's like I didn't really need that tail. I'm out of here.
I did that, but you want to talk about something creepy? Is whenever you're at night and you're over in Florida or whatever, and you just see the little eyes glow in the dark.
Oh God!
From the alligator.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Oh man, no. Jurassic Park just came out, and I'm in Florida, and where my aunt was staying still lives in the same area. But all the fauna in that area looks like it was freshly, off that island of Jurassic Park. And every so often you hear something moving in the background, which would be your gators. I'm like, yep, I couldn't sleep. I'm like, I'm gonna get eaten by a velociraptor or some variation of that, which I was much later disappointed to find out that the raptors that they have in the movie should have been labeled Utah raptors because that would have been the right size. The velociraptor is no bigger than a turkey.
I'll tell you this much: you can talk about all that you want, but when they get aggressive, I don't care, turkeys or whatever, you still don't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I don't even really like eating them, so they can.
Okay.
They can just,
Okay. Sorry about that, Shadow, for derailing you there.
Oh no, it's okay. I was
You
I'm
can't
having fun. I hope you guys are too.
Never had them in the first place.
So my question is, what kind of hazards, besides like starship malfunctions, do you commonly or at least like to throw in your players' way to trip them up, slow them down, or just out myrtleize them? What's your go-to like
I'll wait.
trademark hazard?
I got this. I got this one.
I'm going to start with what?
I've got a really quick answer for this one.
Okay.
What is it?
The human element. Roll bad, bitches.
All right. On the back of that, I'll go next. So the way I usually do it, yeah, we're not going to go a specific order. The way I usually do it.
Sorry, Connor, you were next, man.
Oh, he was. Oh.
Please go ahead a little bit.
Go ahead, 4444.
Yeah, Mr. Ford.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was my name. I needed to use a different device.
That's your number.
I wanted to type anything else, so I just put in that number.
Is that your gel number?
Yeah.
It's got street cred now.
I was hoping 1, 2, 3, 4, so we could make sure that it's like his luggage, combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, the way I usually do it is, I don't think, at least the way I do faster than light travel or like hyperspace type stuff, I don't have it so that there wouldn't be that many natural hazards, except for the occasional like giant space creature that messes it up and it goes towards it instead of the targeted location. But that's never been a thing that I've needed nor wanted to do. But I suppose it is a possibility. But the way I've always done that is just it's interrupted by some sort of ship that has placed some sort of barrier along the path to intentionally stop ships at that point. So they're going through faster than light or through some other dimension or whatever, and then they get there and they're just forced to stop because either there's pirates there or an enemy nation or something. And because any natural thing, I don't see why it would be a necessity. However, having pirates or some sort of enemy state having some fleet stationed there stop anyone traveling through is what I've always done.
Okay.
Wait, that's a video that exists? Wait, hold up.
Oh God.
And this was just
Yeah.
I don't think they get up to
it's 5 minutes ago.
It
I
doesn't
need to
go
watch
up to 4
this.
feet long, but they I've seen some that get up to. I'll tell you this much. Speaking, sorry, derail it just a little bit. If you've ever seen the giant red-headed, what was it? The centipede. I have seen those a couple of times. Those are about 8 or 9 inches long. Those are creepy looking.
There's a species of insect down in Tennessee and other places, commonly called the cow killer, and it's about the same size as an ant. It bites you, and you just want to roll over and die.
I've seen them. They're actually pretty cute. They're little velvet ants.
Yeah,
they're actually
The ones with the red fur on them?
yeah.
Wait, which ones
They're
are
not little. They're the size of freaking. Yeah, those aren't little. Especially in Virginia, those aren't little.
the
They're
snake-
human sized. They're called Karen.
oh,
Wait,
Alright.
what bug are you talking about? I need to know. I was looking at the snake.
Yeah, they're called velvet ants, is what they're called.
Oh, velvet ants. Yeah, those things are amazing.
Oh, yeah, of course. Velvet ants. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
velvet ants. There's actually some. I took a picture of one recently, and I didn't know what it was until I found out. But I mean, yeah, it was pretty cool. Though the one, I don't think it was an actual velvet ant. I think it was just very closely related to a velvet ant. But I found out about these things through that, and it was pretty cool. Though they're not my favorite kind of ants. I'd probably say that what are the green? I keep forgetting the weaver ants. I think is what they're called. I can never remember. But they're the ones that live in trees, the green ones. They live in trees, and they had build these massive.
I just spray them or step on them. It don't matter to me.
Oh yeah, weaver ants. They're the green. Well, they're not.
Die, you bastards!
They're called they're called pests.
Yeah.
And the centipedes, I hate centipedes because when you step on one, sometimes a leg comes off, and you're like, "Oh, damn it! Is that in the carpet? Where's the leg? Find the leg."
And don't they stab you with those legs too, with the centipede? Anyway, okay.
Yeah, we haven't gotten those in a while, but
I'll go back. And yes,
what about the earwig? The earwig, it goes into your head, comes out, goes in one ear and out the other.
That's right.
Yeah, no,
I pull those things on
and
site.
it lays eggs.
I don't even care if that's true or not. I just hate them.
So
God, I hope that's not true.
the little
Or those weird silverfish looking things. They're always climbing around.
They're dumb. I don't like them.
and silverfish eat your bucks. That's the other part.
Yeah, they do.
So
Eat what?
speaking
Why
of,
would they want to eat paper? Just
Oh, they
why?
eat
Why do
books?
they exist? Why do they have?
Cellulose. Cellulose.
so speaking of which, you talk about space hazards, fire, and lack and oxygen running out. Those are two things that force players to really think and optimize on how they're going to deal with things, because you can't fight your way past oxygen. You've got to think on how to deal with it and lock it in. And there's a sense of urgency that if you don't fix it, you're going to die. And that's one of the things I like about hazards from that aspect. I mean, we could throw in all the other stuff, but what are you going to do if there's a fire on the ship? You have to put it out. There is no escape.
Yeah, I mean the was a Stargate universe kind of touch a lot of the oh fuck moments that could happen in space travel. We're running out of water, running out of oxygen, we're running out of food, we're running out of this, we're running out of that. Things that in movies. I mean, there's a lot of movies that cover it, but things you just don't think about.
Anyone that's watched the newer version of Battlestar Galactica, where they had some of those, where they had to do the damage control, and those are things that I think are really good hazards that are non-conventional.
How about you, Shauner?
What kind of hazards are we talking about?
Space hazards. What are your go-to space hazards? Micrometeors, gamma ray bursts,
outdoor hazards. You mean?
Yeah, things that are. I was trying to gear it toward.
You come at a jump and you hit something, or you come at a jump and you're too close to a planet and you're burning in the atmosphere. Battlestar Galactica had an episode like that.
Fair enough.
Or,
how about you, Jackie? Well, let Tom finish.
I want to do an honorable mention. Indoor hazard.
Okay.
I did these all the time until some stupid ass game called Dead Space came out.
Oh, I know Dead Space.
Usually the guy, he wakes up from hypersleep or wherever, he goes to the bathroom, he opens the medicine cabinet, and then when he takes his drugs or whatever, and then he closes it and it's a mirror, right? So he sees himself, and then behind him is his crazy ex-wife who he murdered. And he hasn't seen her in 10 years, but her ghost is on the ship for some reason. Then he turns around and she's gone. One of those kind of things.
Okay,
that would be an indoor hazard, some supernatural thing I usually throw in, so the players don't know if they're still asleep from hypersleep, and of course they are. They do a roll and they figure out, oh, I'm still asleep. I'm not even awake yet from hypersleep. They've been dreaming. But should I do that to them when they wake up and they go in the bathroom and Then they're like, "Oh, come on!" No,
Oh,
I don't want to
well,
piss off my players.
well, yeah, no, I think that's great, Shauner, because I really like those ideas. But the question is, do you have space psychosis, and does everyone have
Well,
it?
then the players are like, they're because we'll start a game like that, and we don't have the setting established as to how these things work, these sleep pods. So one of the players thinks, "Oh, I'm going to do a diagnostics because we're not supposed to dream while we're frozen in these things. Something's obviously going on with these," and that gives the players something to do. And depending on how they roll or how they role play the situation or discuss it at the common area about the sleep pods, maybe they are breaking. Maybe the ship, something's going on with the ship. Maybe something changed the settings on the sleep chambers while they were asleep. Someone's on board. There's a stowaway, hiding in the walls, eating all the space food.
Space cheese.
I blame the tribbles.
There's always trouble with those.
Yes.
Yeah, some guy he stowawayed on the ship when he was like 12 or whatever, and now he's 22. Something like that. He's been living on the ship while they were asleep.
Oh, what was that one movie where they're trying to restart the sun, and they find the old ship? Anyone remember?
Sunshine.
Okay.
Did that happen in that movie?
I think they found the new ship, and it was full of what looks like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they found the sister ship.
Yeah.
There was what? There was that.
What was the name of that movie, Chana, real quick? Because I'm taking notes.
Sunshine.
I think I've seen that movie.
Yeah, these ships with solar shields or whatever head to the sun. They're going to try to reboot the sun because it's running out of fuel. And the ships bring like basically a neutron star in a nice little package to add material to the sun so it has more to burn.
Makes sense.
And these things, the things on the cargo on board the ship has its own gravity. It's crazy.
And
Anyway,
the first
people go
first
crazy
ship,
out there.
the first ship was it disappeared or failed for some reason. They don't know why, and then they find it, and then they're trying to investigate why that was going on, and then people start dying.
There was well,
It's a cabin fever movie.
there was a like something happened to the core of the core, and this was an older movie. This early 2000s as well. The core was going the wrong way. Earth's core was going the wrong way, or something was wrong with it, where they had to build a not outer space but a train. Well, it wasn't a train, but it looked like a train to go dig all the way down to the core to fix whatever wrong with it. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the movie was called The Core with
Yeah.
Hilary Swank.
Was it?
Yeah.
Is that where they're walking around and it's super hot and they don't have suits on? I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. Don't they break into like a geode or something like that? And anyway,
Yeah, and they're falling for a few minutes. Yeah, it was I mean, I thought the concept of the movie was interesting. I don't know. It was not my bag.
speaking of travel, let's go through the other part, which I did enjoy, and I know they did a little bit with Battlestar Galactica, which was Robotech, and how they would take a piece of it within a certain radius with them when they traveled.
Oh,
Right.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was pretty unusual.
They took part of New York City with them or something?
Yeah, they took a city.
Macross
with them.
Island. It was Macross Island.
Yeah.
Oh.
The other part is I also loved it when they're transporting in, and they were betting on how many ships they might crash into when they teleport in. From that. But I still love Robotech, but anyway.
What's happening,
Yeah,
Rick?
usually my ships have a hazard when they come out of the jump. In Star Wars. In Star Wars, they come out of hyperspace and they're getting hit by asteroids.
That was always my biggest issues with like Star Wars, Star Trek as a kid, or it was like they're just you see stars whipping right past them when they're in warp, and I'm like, How do they not hit the stars? Well, the computer will able to dot 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 dot.
But not just the computer. You got to remember that like that space is like almost all empty space.
Yeah.
So it's like you just angle the right way, and you're gonna be good for hundreds and thousands of light years.
I've never done the Star Trek thing
straight
where they
line
see the
from-
hazard in front of their ship, though, and they're like getting ready to go around it or go through
Yeah, I'm
it.
surprised nobody mentioned that. I was thinking of, before the show about the Star Trek the motion picture when they leave Earth and they do that super fast, whatever kind of flight they were talking about. Everything's all, psychedelic light up and stuff, and they never went back to that again because they realized what a freaking dumpster fire that was. But at the same time, I kind of wonder why, that wasn't.
They thought they should add something scary, so they did. Yeah, the warp drives first use out of the gate, and there's a malfunction with them, and it creates a wormhole that they're trapped in. So he's like, fire phasers, and then the guy says, don't fire phasers because the phasers are tied in with something. Use the photon torpedo instead, and that worked. The scene was all played in slow motion. It was agonizing to watch. They should just cut that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a holdover from the '60s with all the rainbow colors.
Yeah, well, Robert Weiss, that's how he did his Day the Earth Stood Still type movies,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Every time you mention that, all I can think of is the music in my head, along with the little trippy aspect of Doctor Who with the music.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that has anything to do with space travel, but that's just what I'm saying.
It's just an effect. Outer Limits had a thing. I don't want to say it's a trope or a cliche, but it's just a look, and it makes you think, oh, there's something unknown beyond our space and time, So that's how they talked in the 50s and 60s. So Robert Weiss thought, hey, let's add this to Star Trek, to a new generation of movie viewers who have seen Star Wars, and they're expecting a thinking man's sci-fi, which is Star Trek. That's what they were trying to do with Star Trek.
Hey, does anybody
It was a waste of
recognize
time.
this movie description from L?
Oh,
And
that's what he called Wing Commander.
That movie was horribly good.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Really? I never saw it, but I was like the master at that game. Wing Commander 1 and 2 back in the old days. That was my game. Flight sim, fighter combat. Everybody I knew, they loved that game, but nobody could beat me at it. Then PlayStation put out the third version, and I couldn't get past the freaking first battle. I don't know what happened, but I always wanted to see that movie because I loved the lore behind the.
Don't see that movie.
No,
Don't see that movie.
Don't see it.
Don't.
Don't.
Okay.
It's awful.
Because not only was what's his name from Starship Troopers in it, and Malcolm McDowell was in it, and the guy who played Biff from Back to the Future was in it, and somebody else, a couple other famous people. The first one with the live action, cut scenes, and then the one that came after that with Mark Hamill. I just couldn't play it. I couldn't play it. It sucked. But the first and second one, or third, or whatever. I'll avoid that movie like the plague.
I remember it right up until about what was 94, 95 or so, and then when the movie came out, probably what 96, 97, something like that. But yeah, all my friends talked about how great it was.
Exactly.
So I heard nothing but great things about those games, and you're kind of like, why don't they make them anymore? And it's like because everyone uses a controller and doesn't use an actual flight stick.
No, I ended the Kilrathi War. It was the game that had Mark Hamill in it as the lead character that I couldn't.
That was 4.
Okay.
If I remember right.
Yeah, 3 was freaking phenomenal. 4,
So 4 was more of a space opera kind of thing. Like it kind of pivoted away from being more like Top Gun to more like yeah,
So I didn't
more
miss
like
anything.
like Star Trek.
Did anybody here see that show back in the 90s called Sequest?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm familiar with it.
I
I changed the
James brings
channel.
up
Every time that show came on, I would change the channel.
Hey, James
What
L.,
show?
I mentioned Dune. I did mention Dune. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
what show, Shauner?
Sequest.
Sequest. Every time that show came on TV, I would change the channel.
I really like that kid actor. He was like in the Never Ending Story and a few other movies.
Yeah, he's okay.
Then he just like disappeared, and I didn't find out until much later in life. It's like, yeah, he killed himself. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, he was the guy in the second Never Ending Story.
Right. He was the TV
What?
show, the
That-
TV series.
Two never-ending stories. That means they overlap, right?
Yeah, three,
Yeah.
four technically, and a cartoon series.
Oh
that
yeah,
sounds.
yeah.
That sounds
That
a bit
that should have
wrong.
never
Okay.
been renewed.
I mean, I don't want to say
First season's
gay,
fine.
but
Guys,
okay.
that's why I said it for you.
It's very gay.
Yeah.
I whenever I look at these, deep, but see, I do like some of the stuff of, whether it's underwater in a submarine or in space, the thing is the same, which is if once you lose structural integrity,
Yeah,
it's probably a death sentence and other things. Of course, in space, you don't have. It's the opposite. You get pressure pushing out rather than pressure pushing in.
Yeah.
But,
I was on a real one, and yeah, it's
Wasn't
like
Roy Scheider in that?
yeah,
Second?
yeah.
Yes.
Oh. So I
People
remember
thought he was
actually
hot
watching
stuff.
some of it.
He did Blue
But
Thunder.
I just
Everyone thought
couldn't
he was
get
hot
into it.
stuff.
Yeah,
He was in that. He was in that crap ass 2010 garbage.
wasn't he also in all that jazz?
That movie was crap. The opening scene in 2010 is him on the beach with his Apple IIc. So you're dating your movie to 1984? It's supposed to be 2010, and you're playing around with a crap ass Apple IIc on the beach?
Hey,
Well,
hey,
they probably
On
thought
the
people
beach.
wouldn't notice.
With sand. Sand is in the floppy drive because you got it on the beach sand.
look
No.
if you're fooling around with the missus on the beach, there's always sand in the floppy drive.
Oh,
Damn. Trying to keep this family friendly. Yeah, right.
actually,
PG-13.
Right.
Anyway, 2010 sucked.
so did
And
2001.
he was in it.
2001, I hated. It's basically could be summed up by,
Yeah.
please don't do that, Dave. I mean, I was like, could we have any more heavy breathing? You don't hear as much heavy breathing in
Oh, it's a
porn.
Kubrick film. There was always heavy breathing.
Yeah, Kubrick films are very strange.
Yes.
Did everybody get a chance to answer that last question about
so-
Space Hazard?
No.
Kai?
he did not. Yeah.
Did
I
you
mean,
have
I
one
kinda-
out there, Kai? I know
No,
Cabin
Cabin.
has one, and I
Cabin.
know I didn't. Let's go with Cabin while Kai types his up.
Always thought nebulas are interesting, like even in the ways that they use them as just like smoke screens, in a lot of different shows. But I don't think I've ever really done a lot of like point-to-point space travel like that. Most of the space travel stuff that I've ever done is what do you call it? It's like folding space. So
Well,
Yeah.
nebulas are actually an interesting thing because nobody uses them to their full potential. I mean, there's a lot you could do with them, but people just use them as like, oh wow, pretty colors. Whoa.
I know, right?
What? Nobody
Well-
uses them to their full potential. Who are you talking about?
he's talking
Yeah.
about his friends at school.
I'm going to say this
From
much.
my house, I can reach a nebula and do something with it.
Well,
I think he means in stories and games.
Oh, okay.
No, Kevin, you said that you had been in a submarine. So what was?
Yeah.
You were saying, and we all interrupted you.
You did, but
Well, in Star Trek 2, they used a lot of nebula stuff for things.
Wow. Just wow.
They also use them.
You're never going to let Kevin talk about his submarine experience.
Nope.
Wasn't Disney World 2000 Leagues Underneath the Sea? DC,
No.
was it now?
I would have liked to have gone on one of those submarine rides when they had the Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and you got to sit in one of those. That would have been cool.
I sat in that one when Disney World years ago, but I also went in the one over by Hawaii where it has the little the porch so you can see outside the the little windows so you can.
Yeah, that's the dolphin. That's the dolphin.
Oh, okay. Well, that was the one I was able to get on. They take all these people down. You got to see the sea turtles and everything just sitting under there.
Mhm.
But anyway, sorry about that. Kevin, let's see if you can actually talk about your submarine.
It's not gonna happen. But it's like you're talking about structural integrity and stuff, and it's like it's not like I'm trying to think. Was it Hunt for Red October where they actually like shot at one and sunk it or whatever? There isn't like it's not like 9/11 where they're just like pre-planned, explosions to make the whole thing explode by one torpedo. It's
What?
just you would hit. There would be an impact, but it would what it mostly would do would disable the submarine because in almost all of the outside of the submarine is a ballast tank. So if you rupture the ballast tank, water's just going to go in there, and you're not going to be able to surface. But if you get into the internal hull, then there would be some crushing and some pressure, but it's like it wouldn't crush the whole ship. It would definitely disable it. It would definitely warp it and be bad time. But
you want to shoot the submarine where all the dynamite's stored.
Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of dynamite on a submarine.
Like when a car goes off a cliff and it blows up before it even hits the bottom.
That's the thing. Most people don't understand how cruise missiles and torpedoes work, because the only way that you can set them off is you basically have to set off like an explosion of dynamite to set them off. So and that's only going to happen through a very specific percussion cap. It's not going to if you run if you shoot a missile and hit a bunch of other missiles, you're not going to make the rest of those missiles explode unless
you just knock them down or whatever.
Yeah, which disable a missile. Those things are precision instruments.
Or you bang something hard enough and it just doesn't fly right after that.
Yeah, it's not going to do what it's supposed to do.
This is a bad angle, Shadow. We do not need to see the size of your wang.
Thanks, Shadow. Maybe we want to. He was just trying to. He's just trying to show us. He's just trying to show us another submarine. It's fine.
We're not wanting to go back to Disney World. No one cares about Finding Nemo.
He was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
yeah, actually he was. You guys are killing me, man.
You start talking about submarines, and we all just can't not think about our own submarine. That's what it is.
Hey,
okay.
Hey, Sean.
Who else needs a turn talking about hazards in space?
Jackie,
finished.
did you go? Oh, okay, go ahead, Cap. Let Cap finish. Let Cap finish. He's getting walked on all over tonight.
But with nebulas, they've done a few different things with them. It's like volatile gases, and then there have been some that have done it more like they're like a mystical thing. But other than the things that people have actually said, the thing that I always thought was the funniest, I've seen it in two movies. It was in The Last Starfighter and it was in The Fifth Element. It's basically where you have there's a row of lights that are like, this is our territory. Right?
Oh yeah.
It's like you're at the border. So they have that in The Last Starfighter where they have a border like that, and then it's literally it's literally like It's like a customs office in the Fifth Element. Like you're cleared to enter.
I mean,
It makes sense.
the
It makes
idea.
sense because you're gonna have mostly a galactic, like meridian, where I mean you could
they
do
check the license of your ship or whatever, and
Yeah,
your manifest.
but just think of the
and all that
billions
stuff.
and trillions of little lights that must be,
Oh yeah,
out there.
oh
You
yeah.
know?
Just to even light up like a runway section in space, you would need a whole all
Be a
kinds.
ton. And then you got to figure out, well, how is the space defined? Because it's like, if everything is moving,
Yeah.
like
They're
how are you?
drones, maybe.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like
know.
these things wouldn't actually be stationary. They would be, keeping with wherever the border would actually be. Which,
Well, did you see the new or not the new, I guess this year's Burning Man
Uh-uh.
on YouTube? They had the
Nope.
face. They had it's at night and there's a
The drones
face
or
lit up in
something?
the sky,
Yeah,
and
it was drones.
the pixels are all done by individual drones flying in synchronization to make the shape of a human face staring down at everybody.
Where is
That was
Burning
cool.
Man being held? Where is that, anyways?
I don't know
It's
where it was.
in it's in Burning Man, Earth, Soul.
Okay,
Yeah,
That's the address.
If you're a cool person, you get to know where it is. It's basically
All the rich ass supermodels get to go there,
and all
and then all the guys,
and
and then all the guys selling drugs get to go there, and then all the other guys with super duper cameras film all the cool YouTube videos of all these hot chicks dressed up as road warrior.
Yeah, but you got to remember that none of that stuff is actually done at Burning Man anymore. Those are they're just scenes out in somewhere in Hollywood.
it was just a flat desert as far as I don't know, it looked like 10 miles of nothing in every direction.
You could do it around Death Valley. You could do it in Mojave Desert. You could do it wherever, where there's people that have a lot of, it's a lot of like Hollywood, adjacent areas.
None of
that stuff's actually Burning Man.
No, Kevin. Are you saying it's just like the moon landing, all filmed in Hollywood?
I mean, so I 100% believe that some of the shots that they used on TV were done like in a studio. I know
some of them are artistic.
I know we went to the moon. I know we went to the moon, but we also absolutely propagandized the shit out of that.
They had artist conceptions, but they would say this is an artist conception,
right, at
the bottom of the frame. Now, if they Photoshop that out, then yeah. Then they can say, "Oh, it's a conspiracy."
It's really good.
I'm gonna have fun with James L. here. Who are the Ramones? No, I know who they are.
Oh,
but I was just gonna screw with him.
Yeah, but no, I think I do think that's absolutely what happened. Was that there were definitely some shots that Stanley Kubrick actually shot. I'm 100% on that.
No,
100%. 1000%.
He doesn't. He was in Pinewood Studios. He was not at NASA.
Trillion percent.
No. I will say as much is I know
what
for a
did
fact,
he shoot?
We have not landed on the moon since in my lifetime.
You saw the Earth in 2001, right? How fake it looks.
Yeah.
How come it looks so much cooler just a year later from the actual moon and from orbit, for that fact?
Yeah. But I just find it funny because the last time that we went to the moon was December 1972.
Yeah, well, they're getting ready to go again, though.
All right. Well, you know
about
what?
time, don't you think, guys?
It's gonna be faked again.
I mean, well, it's just like once you've done it and once you beat the Russians, that's all it was about.
Man,
kind of.
I don't want to upset our Transformer overlords that live on the moon.
Come on, we need those Energon cubes.
Okay.
Next time you watch 2001, look at how how they make Earth look, and it looks like a crap ass planet from Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone speaking a little bit, we talked about FTL travel, and I know Sean mentioned a little bit about rockets, but did anyone talk about the the stuff that Heinlein talked about, sending stuff from the Earth into space.
Talk about like what do you call it? Space elevators?
No, well, I did that in school where we talked
The
about
accelerator things. What are they
It-
called?
Yeah, basically they used a bunch of explosions up the side of a mountain to keep pushing it up higher and higher, and that creates enough force to get it out into space. So they're like giant cannons.
Yeah, like how the moon sends its cargo back to Earth using those acceleration gun things.
Yeah. Well, the Russians, not the Russians, the Germans had those in World War II.
Seems like a
but-
really bad idea.
Actually, it works fairly well if you look at it. You can, but you have to use some place like and this is what Highline did is because he likes to do a lot of the math. Was he used what was it, Mount McKinley, whichever the it's, but you have to go like 2.5 miles for this to actually get up enough to get into space. But it would be a better way than our current rockets in certain ways. Railguns and maglev were a little bit different than this. This was actually
But the thing is, it's really hard to get something up the mountain itself to get it to actually get it out of the space. That's the thing that they would have to solve. It's like, well, you want to dig in the you want to basically do a NORAD and like dig in the mountain and then put an elevator in the mountain.
It would have to go up and then stay up.
Yeah,
you in orbit.
You would have to put it. Well, you think of it this way: you have to create a 2-mile long gun that goes from the base of the mountain all the way up to the top.
Right.
And then you have to have on the side chambers, as they have explosives pushing it up. It starts hitting a certain velocity to keep accelerating it.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured it out one
time.
time.
I see. So it's almost like a multi-stage cannon. Like,
yes.
Yeah. So it's like a tube the whole way up, but then you get to a certain point and then you've reached escape velocity.
Yeah, you have charges on the sides, so they would explode, and that would push the projectile further and further.
Right.
It keeps the acceleration up.
I think the issue with that would just be like the gas. What is it? Like the gas dispersion, because it's like you wouldn't have a backstop on the thing, so it'd just be a big tube, and you'd just be lighting something off, and like there would have to be some way to like shut the tube almost right behind the thing and then have another explosion. Seems like pretty hard engineering problem.
Well, like I said, the Germans had done it. What they did is they did explosive charges on the side of it, and so when it would pass, it would so it kept the constant pressure behind it instead of as the projectile moves.
Okay. So
yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think I was just thinking of a little. Yeah, that would be well. And you're saying that was more efficient than using like a solid rocket?
Yeah, because you don't have to actually push the rocket up, and it's a lot easier. So you don't have that extra weight. Basically,
it depends on what kind of fuel you're using, because the stuff they're using now is a lot better.
Well, that's true, but I mean, it's just easier to use the explosives there. You only have to carry it up however far the mountain. Yeah. You don't have to push up all of the fuel to a certain stage and then have stuff drop off. You just keep pushing it up. So you're only really sending up whatever you want into space. And
what kind of payload? So is it like almost like a bullet-shaped payload or something like that? And you've got a chamber on the inside.
You'd have to generally look at it almost like a 16. Look at the giant rail guns they had in World War I and World War II.
Yeah, we got one on a DBX too. Or are they bigger than that?
The trick though is it has to go into orbit.
Yeah,
it has to go past Mach 1. Those kinds of things.
I think,
and it's hard. That's good.
No, you can do it. It was one of those things of how much do you want to squish people in there?
It sounds like it would be a very because the thing with rockets is like the initial takeoff, you've got a lot of G-forces, but as everything kind of catches up, then it's about the rate of acceleration as that tails off, it becomes easier on your body and like whatever kind of cargo you would have.
Yeah, it can be done. You just have to look at it. But I mean, they sent World War I the Paris.
Just sounds like getting tackled over and then over and over again. That doesn't sound like a good time.
Well,
I could just see the headlines Earth sent its first load into space. All these weird semi, got to read between line headlines. A bunch of men crammed into a tube, and they was shot off into space.
The thing is, the tube is going to be friction on whatever is going through it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if you look at what they had with the Paris gun, that shot up to 127 miles up into, that went suborbital, and you can actually, it's not that you can't do it, but see, that Paris gun was only what, a few hundred feet. We're talking about something that's almost 2.5 miles long, and that's what's keeping the pressure up, so you can get the velocity to go out there. Now the problem is you have to deal with environmentalists. So they would never let you do that to the mountain.
Well, like environmentalists don't let you do anything, so you just kind of have to throw all sci-fi out the window because there's some owl that lives in some dead tree, and so you can't do anything.
Well, that's why everyone goes over to third world countries and says, "Oh yeah, we don't care about that."
Yeah, they're launching from Sri Lanka.
Yeah. There's a reason for it.
I'm pretty sure it's Sri Lanka, right? Where they do launch some stuff for India.
I think there's one in what is it? Not New Guinea. Where is that? Is it Papua New Guinea?
Indonesia?
It's the one in South America. It's the one in South America. It's out with Ariana. Yeah, it's used by the French.
Yeah, French Guiana.
Yeah, French Guiana. They use not just France, but all of Europe uses French Guiana for the majority of their space.
Yeah, but see,
when they want to launch a rocket. Because I think it's actually a French state now. It's not a colony anymore.
Always been.
France.
The other thing is that it's near the equator, so it can allow you don't have to use as much fuel to get it out into space.
Yeah.
I think it's more efficient to just have SpaceX put stuff in orbit.
Oh, they need independence because every country to ever exist needs to be independent for some dumb reason.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with us in Texas that say it's time to leave.
No, I'm specifically referring to the idiots who say French Guiana needs independence.
Why not? Why can't they have independence? Why can't they be their own island?
Because they don't want to be
the Philippines.
Independent.
And they wanted independence. We gave it to them. We used to own Liberia too.
Yeah. But
they were like, "Hey, we want to be independent." And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
There's an ocean between us and us supporting you. So go for it.
Yeah, pretty much.
We still own Guam, so.
That's
true, but that stuff's more strategitic, and there's really not a whole lot there except for some submarines.
Yeah,
it's like some submarines and an airstrip. That's about it.
And
there's a Planet Hollywood there downtown.
Oh wow, Iron Lung! It's been a while since I thought of that game, huh?
Iron Lung is a game.
It's basically this game where
I just know the real Iron Lung
submarine, and you need to do math.
Yeah, I was like
the big ocean.
Yeah,
and you need to take pictures of stuff in an ocean on a moon that's full of blood, and then you get killed by a big fish.
What was that name? The Red Dawn or something, where you play a bunch of gnomes that are drunk, and in the meantime, the submarine's beginning to sink.
I don't know.
Somebody missed their medication. This went really weird, really fast.
Well, you talk about sci-fi, it kind of gets weird, especially with this motley crew.
Yep.
Oh, Red November. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Where
it was like Red Dawn. That's a movie, I think.
No.
Red Dawn is a movie. Yes.
Yeah. Red November is basically a game where each player plays a gnome as things are beginning to sink, and you're trying to stop the submarine from filling full of water. And
let's see.
Who's making a milkshake?
Why would someone play that game?
Oh yeah.
Because there's gnomes?
No, gnomes and alcohol. I mean, come on. What can go wrong?
I mean,
is this a phone app? Is this a real game?
It is a real game. It's called Red November.
One of those Steam games that's almost free.
I don't know.
It was GOG.
It was one from Fantasy Flight. Work together to save a sinking sub, or find a diving suit and abandon your friends.
I know which option I'm going for. See you, suckers.
Okay, I'm looking this up, and it sounds like it's a book.
Red November?
Inside the Secret U.S. Soviet Submarine War.
No.
That's
no.
Red
It's Red
October.
October.
Red November is going to bring up like 1,000 hits.
And look up Red November game.
Is it a board game?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, it's a board game.
Oh, that's why.
Oh, it's a board game.
That's why it sucks.
I guess Shauna doesn't like board games.
That's surprising.
We have to have friends to play board games. Or
Oh, damn. Shots fired.
It looks
No
dumb.
shit, I said that, but it was on mute. Shots fucking fired.
It looks dumb.
Dang.
His friends have been.
There's a better game made by Ideal. It was called Sink the Titanic.
Can you play it by yourself?
No, I don't know.
Fucking God, I swear to God, dude.
I like
Next weekend,
Agricola.
you're staying home.
I like Agricola, and you can play it by yourself. It's pretty good.
I want to see what one of these gnomes looks like.
Well, I've got my son because he got kicked out, so I now have an unwilling partner to play board games now.
Oh, that's good. Unwilling is
So,
the best.
so if he's got a choice: do his homework or play a board game.
Oh no, he has to do all of the above. It's you're living with me
Oh,
now,
okay.
so you can't.
Welcome to the world of chores. But wait, what?
Okay, the gnomes don't even look like gnomes.
What do they look like?
What are gnomes supposed to look like there, Shauna? Like
Like
David
gnomes?
the gnome?
Yeah.
They're supposed to have little red hats, dress in blue, and
Yes.
live under like a Smurf.
Yes.
Yeah, if
And they
they're
have to
not
have a little
blue,
medical kit.
if they're not blue with red pointy hats, they aren't gnomes.
No,
I mean,
those
the
are
hats
red
can be
caps.
different color.
Those
But-
are Smurfs.
They look like Dudley Do-Right, sort of.
No. Look up a gnome.
I know what a gnome looks like. I grew up in the era of David the gnome.
Yes, I'm trying to explain what a gnome is. So a gnome, they have a pointy hat, and then it doesn't have to be red.
And then the gnomes aren't even to scale with the submarine. What is that about?
The submarine's
Gnomes
huge.
Weird, small
They're
noses.
like 20. They're like 28 millimeter figures almost.
I'm laughing more that I got Shotter to actually look this up than rather just simply just to let it pass by.
I'm on Game Board
That's what the
Game
gnomes
Board
look
Geek.
like.
Board
They
game.
like we're this is the guy.
They're just they look like the guys from the Daring Young Men and their flying machines or something, you know?
If I'm looking at the right thing, this is the friggin' Watto from Star Wars, the slave guy. That's what I'm looking at.
Hey, we can't say slave. We have to say.
Hey, you can't say. Oh, I'm sorry. I already said words I can't say. Go ahead.
The game board is tiny too.
Yeah, man. Cardboard's getting expensive.
Yeah.
It just looked like an interesting thing that I saw. A frantic game of survival in a gnomish submarine. I'm like, what can go wrong?
Actual.
These were real gnomes. They just time travel back into the past and fixed it.
Oh,
After
hey,
looking at the pictures, the game looks better than how Owen Owl described it.
I
Is
just remember reading this says, it's about drunk gnomes trying to save a submarine. I'm like, well,
They're not drunk though.
no.
I don't think they're drunk.
Go read the rules. There's a certain point where they have to drink a certain amount of alcohol and pass out for a certain number of rounds.
I can do that. That doesn't have to. That doesn't have to be a
Well, you
game.
could make the game just from going to Game Board Geek and just printing out the pictures, and you would have the game.
This is where one of those leftist games. It's mandatory drinking.
Well,
Why
it's
does it have
fantasy
to be a
flight games.
leftist? I know a
Oh,
bunch of
it's
Republicans that drink. I know a bunch of Republicans that drink as much as
Are
I
you
do.
saying
Hey,
it's
Yeah, but
Are you saying it's
are they? But you said
anti-military?
you said they were mandated to.
Oh,
register.
mandate. Okay.
Yeah.
That,
Oh,
That's the
even
difference. It's not. It's not about the quantity. It's about the. It's about the tyranny.
I don't know. I think if
Okay,
you're
so-
married long enough, drinking becomes mandated.
So you can die from suffocation, burning to
breathing.
death, or pressure.
Suffocation. No,
The
The
Divorce.
conditions get worse. Someone can get lost. Let's see.
It really does starting to sound like marriage.
You run around on the ship and you're doing some actions. You're performing some sort of an action. You're repairing something on the submarine.
Sounds like Among Us.
Removing obstacles, putting out fires, getting rid of the water.
This has got to be one of the.
After each player. It doesn't mention anything about being drunk, though.
This is like one of those Revolutionary War submarines made out of wood. That's what it sounds like.
It's a cooperative game.
That's you know. Do you have to roll dice?
The reactor's overheating. The missiles are going to launch without your order. Fires and water leaks. There's a giant kraken nearby. And there's very little oxygen or vodka left.
Hey. Why is all the vodka gone?
Because the gnomes were drinking it. That's part of what's in there. There's an actual mechanic for drunk gnomes.
But you have to stay You have to stay alive long enough until help arrives.
If this is a submarine,
It sounds like Sink the Titanic, but
so this is like a civilian submarine. Is what it sounds
jacked up.
Jacked up.
I'm all jacked up again. Isn't that a Buck Cherry song?
No, it's lit up.
Speaking of submarines, back to I was watching the show. I was flipping through it and had the guy who played Angel and Buffy on it, and it grabbed my attention momentarily. It was SEALs, like Navy SEALs show, and they did a mission, and the only way they can get back to the ship was to dive down to a submarine, and they had to go through the
torpedo.
Yeah, the torpedo hatch. And I'm like, then they had to stay in there for X amount of time to repressurize. I'm like, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it is. Actually, in fact, I've heard that in certain ones is that they have actual jacuzzis to warm them up because many times they'll be hyperthermic.
No.
Yeah.
No jacuzzis on a submarine.
See, I was being serious. Now you're fucking with me.
No. I think you can correct me for this. And again, it's hard to tell. Was that they talked about that they had to do it where they would warm them up, otherwise they could.
No, what would happen if they were doing a operation like that is they would have a dry suit, and so
James Bond does that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, James Bond always thought it was kind of James Bondish.
Heck, they would go in through the torpedo tube sometimes.
That's what they had these Navy SEALs guys do.
Yeah, they could do that, but they would be in like a dry scuba suit, so they'd be.
Sometimes that's the way out of the ship.
They wouldn't have any body temperature issues.
Yeah.
Maybe running out. What was that? The thing was he was running out of oxygen.
Yeah, that could definitely be a thing.
It was just a really weird show. No, it was filling it with water. That was the deal. There was something happened, and the hatch was broke when I didn't close all the way, and was slowly filling up with water. And I'm like, what the hell am I watching?
So, like the torpedo tube is filling up with water, or the whole boat? Oh, okay.
The tube.
Oh, okay. So they can't. So basically, they're having some kind of malfunction on the outer door or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that in a weird, TV show situation. But yeah, because really it's like you have divers on your boat, like you're gonna have at least I think it's 4
okay, so that gnome board game, you make a figurine and you call it a Time Lord, and you put that on the map of the submarine, and the game makes sense then.
Why a time? I'm going to regret this, but why a Time Lord?
Because Doctor Who sucks.
See, I knew it.
British sci-fi sucks in general.
Oh, whoa. I just got
It
to
does.
watching Blake 7. Blake 7 was awesome.
Why? Okay, why do you like it?
Well,
Or what do you like the most?
obviously, the
You can't say the girls.
you know what? That's up there. Yeah, because they were like not overstatedly, gorgeous, but they were like uniquely attractive. But Care Avon was one of the coolest characters in sci-fi of all time. Did you watch it?
No, but
No,
just
I've never
if you
seen
say
it.
all time, I'm going to say
So,
no.
What about her character that you like?
That was a guy, actually. Just because
That was
he
a
was
guy?
just a
What's the guy's name?
K-E-R Care Avon.
That's too close to Karen for my liking.
No, I thought you said Carrie or Karen or something.
No, Care Avon. He just goes by Avon.
Okay.
He was just a uniquely just
Is that
kind
the
of
main
a rat
dude?
bastard character. No, he's actually not, but he becomes the main dude because something happens with the main actor and he leaves the show. And it's called Blake 7. In season 2, Blake leaves.
It's Blake
That is
7
messed up.
because Blake and then the 7 main characters.
Okay,
and
I
then by
think
the
I know
second
who you're
season,
talking about.
Blake is gone, and there's no longer 7 characters. There's only 5.
See, I'm not alone here. Avon was a badass, even though he wasn't. He just. I mean, well, for a British guy, he was. I'm just going to put it down there.
I don't know. I've always been a big fan of Brent.
Hey, how did they write that his character leaves the show?
He disappears.
Yeah, he just kind of disappears. It was kind of a weak. He and the bombshell blonde, I guess, character. They both left, and they don't come back until season 4. And you'd love it, Connell, because everybody dies in the end.
It is a British show.
But it was just really not what I was expecting from a sci-fi show, especially for the time. But it's just something you gotta watch. It's just it was I don't even know where to go with it, but it was what the hell am I looking at? Jesus Christ.
Quartermass in the Pit. This is the only British sci-fi I like.
Red Dwarf.
Yeah, I was gonna say Red Dwarf.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
Quartermass. It's
I'm watching Red Dwarf every night before I go to bed. But Doctor Who is trash. Oh man.
Yeah,
Doctor Who is garbage.
Doctor Who is absolute garbage. Changed my mind.
Space 1999, absolute trash.
To me,
when it comes to Doctor Who, depends on who is the doctor.
right? But the thing with Doctor Who is it's just like it's a bunch of like absurd stuff. It's not even like sci-fi. It's closer to like Numenera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying,
I think it was, to be honest, in a lot of ways, it was too much like the Hitchhiker's Guide or vice versa, trying to be funny when it was really just dry humor, not like anybody can laugh at it kind of humor like Red Dwarf. There's,
even
humor.
Red Dwarf is kind of dry humor, though. I mean,
but it's British.
No, it's a lot of
It's
and dick jokes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a good amount of physical humor, but it is a sitcom.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys can all yell at me, but I enjoyed Space Janitors.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with Space Janitors.
Space Jam?
No, Space Janitors.
Oh,
I haven't
Space
seen that one.
Jam. I was incredibly confused.
They basically play space janitors as there's like as the rebellion goes on around them.
Yeah, it's good.
It was when Geek and Sundry actually used to be enjoyable to watch.
Yes, yeah, it was one of their shows, and it's actually not bad. It's like before they got any funding, so they were actually good.
Yeah, well, Felicia Day sold out. When she sold, and I don't blame her. If you can make money, sell out.
Look, if you can be a 7 out of 10 in Hollywood, and like get a gig and like sell out, go for it because you're not going to get anything else.
I have a few friends.
Yeah,
that
at
date.
some point, I haven't seen her recently, but at some point she's going to hit that wall, and she's going to go the way of Kathy Griffin.
Oh,
Kathy
man.
Griffin can just go disappear into a hole too.
Well,
But-
I think the difference is Felicia Day actually had a kid, whereas Kathy Griffin is just
Oh, yeah.
embittered old.
Yeah, Kathy Griffin will never reproduce.
Yeah.
Thank God. I mean, I shouldn't say that out loud. Thank God. So say it louder. But no,
So what'd you like about Blake 7?
the credits.
Just because it was kind of
Credits. The music.
the music. My son loves the music. He's been listening to the theme song for that show for like 2 weeks now. Just the theme song.
I am contemplating using that song, despite the risks of having
Copyright.
it down.
Look,
Play
I will.
backwards.
You know what? If you use that song, I will DMCA you.
Oh,
Damn.
I have never-
is there like a YouTube episode I can watch where they summarize the whole show and I can
Probably.
and they can
It's
say if it's
basically
good or bad?
they're basically criminals who want to destroy the Federation, and it just never pans out.
Pinky, what are we doing to Brain? What are we doing? tonight?
It's very it's very dated. The costumes are just crazy because it's like they're in a spaceship. There's this top of the line alien spaceship that just rocks. It's the only reason they survive as long as they do, because they've got like this ancient alien artifact spaceship that just, the best ship in the galaxy, just blows away the Federation 3-1 every time. Mm-hmm. But they're walking around, and half the time their clothing looks like they got it from a Renaissance fair. They're supposed to be in the future, but half the costumes literally look like medieval garb.
This is very interesting.
No, there's no capes. There's no capes. But just really wide.
Well, so what I'm hearing,
I don't remember that.
Or maybe a leather jacket.
They all had like studded leather all the time, and those big wide Santa belts. But they're walking around with laser guns that actually have cables tied to a belt pouch.
So basically, what they did was raided the Hercules Legendary Journeys.
No, this was way before that, though. Way before that, though, and better actual outfits.
So then Hercules Legendary Journey raided their.
No, they wish they could have got those costumes. Some of them,
they
for
went
the
to
bad
Elton
guys.
John's closet.
That's probably more accurate. That's probably, but that was only his 70s era, 60s, 70s era closet, not the later closet.
So what I'm hearing is Blake 7 is a sci-fi version of Dark Shadows. Watch the credits. That's all you need to know.
No, wait a minute. We're going to talk about stuff from this, from that era. Let's not forget Battle Beyond the Stars.
I don't know that one.
I don't know that one.
That movie sucked when it came out, but compared to movies made now, it's brilliant.
But
is there anything you do like, Shauner?
No. He's
I don't think he likes
a
anything.
Magnificent Seven set to space.
Compared to Alien, that movie sucked. But compared to sci-fi stuff coming out now, Battle Beyond the Stars is like one of the best movies ever made.
Oh no, I think my favorite,
which is very sad.
I think one of my favorite sci-fi outer space movies has got to be The Last Starfighter.
I still love The Last Starfighter. I do enjoy that.
No, but the Battle Beyond the Stars is what? The Magnificent Seven in space or something like that?
Yes, it is. And you got to love the ship that shows like only the torso of a woman as using us in a combat vehicle.
The Last Starfighter is a classic coming of age story.
I've been to another planet, Ma.
Yeah, exactly.
I enjoyed The Last Starfighter. I still enjoy watching it.
Yeah, it's a good feel good, like summer.
I've only seen it like once or twice, and it's been decades since I've seen it, and I would literally have to see it.
It's about a kid who plays he plays arcade games, and he would play this certain one, and it was set up by aliens to train humans on how to shoot their enemy guys, and then they recruit him into. He already knows how to fly the ship because he's been trained how to on the arcades. And
yeah,
it's very cool. The graphics are kind of
Yes, yes,
dated, but
The graphics are awesome.
yeah, yes.
Oh,
You
no.
are correct. That was the one with the John Boy guy for his battle.
Oh, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. No, my favorite part is, my favorite part is towards the end of the movie when the guy looks at the captain. What are we gonna do now? And the captain looks at him all, Captain and I. Now we die.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. But the guy that plays the co-pilot, like the co-pilot alien, is great. He's by far the best actor. I don't know who it is.
I love him when he goes over. He says, "I always wanted to be in the last pitch battle where we were going to die against incredible odds." And he's just like, "Well, thanks. And this is not the person I want to be with."
There's a lot of good sci-fi movies back in the 80s. I mean, they're not all great, but like Enemy Mine with Dennis Quaid.
That one is great. Okay, that one's fantastic.
Enemy Mine had a lot of good stuff. Some of the stuff that came from what was the other Outer Limits had some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
The thing with Enemy Mine is that it's so inconsistent.
Yeah.
There are parts of that movie like you could do like a
3 movies in one.
You could do the good Enemy Mine cut, and you could make like it would be like a movie that was like an hour long, but it would be a great movie. And for what it is. And like all you'd have to do is like get rid of the actual mine stuff, because from what I understand, there was literally like people from the fucking production company that were like, you gotta put a mine in it. And it's like, do you not understand English?
There's a bunch of
Was it Clancy Brown in that?
What's his
As one of the bad guys?
He was in fucking everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think he is one of the bad guys.
That whole scene he didn't need to be in.
The one
that whole part of the movie just didn't need to be there.
Yeah, it didn't. Like I said, it was literally from the production company that was like, our audience is too stupid to understand this title.
What was I can't remember the one that Kevin Sorbo did for Space.
Andromeda.
That's one of my favorite shows. That one.
I really liked it, but then the last season was
just talk about the last season.
I felt like I was on drugs trying to watch that.
It's like the first 2 seasons of The Next Generation. You just don't talk about them.
Right. It's like the 5th season of Scrubs. Yeah. Season 1 through 4 Scrubs was fucking amazing. We hit the 5th season. It's like, all right, who took a shit in my cereal?
Wait a minute. Just so Connell feels better, we just pretend that season 1 and season 5 of Babylon 5 does not really exist.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're absolutely correct.
I got a bunch of people here who's like, you gotta watch the show. You gotta watch the show. I can't get past season fucking 1.
Wait a minute. If you can make it through season 1,
you're in for the ride of your life.
You'll watch it ramp up. Now, there's a lot of stuff that they're building up on, but my best explanation would be it's like in the Silmarillion, and then going.
It literally is Tolkien in space. Even the last season has got that full, scouring of the Shire feel to it, where you're like, the story should have been over. I don't give a fuck about the hobbits cleaning up their own neighborhood. I don't care. I
give Tolkien.
It's literally like that.
Okay. Connell, how far are you along?
Oh,
episode 2.
Well,
no.
Here's the reason. Are you at the part where they've gotten some space travel yet? Time travel into it yet?
No. I'm very much in. I think I'm like 5th episode.
Oh, okay. Because the reason I mentioned it is they do time travel in the last part of season 1, and it comes back again in season 3.
Oh God!
And it's worth it. You just have to suffer through it. I hate saying the season 1 you have to suffer through, and once Sinclair, is it Sinclair? I can never remember. Anyway, the first that once you get past that, the second season really hits its own stride. And the problem was the season 4 was rushed because they weren't sure that they were going to get any other seasons. So they wanted to finish up the story. Otherwise, season 4 could have would have been even better because they could have done the full season for 2 different aspects to it.
I was like over at a friend's house, and we're setting out to play Babylon 5, and they're playing the Federation. And I decided to play Narn for some more odd fucking. Oh yeah, because of the. Anyways, I'm playing Narn because they won't let me play the fucking Shadow because they all fucking suck. Anyways, not the Shadow.
Vorlons.
The Minbari?
No, it's the ones with the tentacle ships. They're not tentacles, but they.
Vorlon.
Vorlons,
Yeah, Vorlons. And someone's like, well, we need to put it on so we can get into the mood. And I'm like, dude, I'm like barely out of the first couple episodes of season 1. He's like, we'll just watch a random episode. It's not gonna mean anything. So they turn on the one episode that had this the woman who has the bone crown around her hair.
Yeah.
And she has long hair, so she doesn't look like a fucking.
You mean Delenn? Yeah.
Yeah. And she gets tortured by Jack the fucking Ripper. I'm like, what the kind of horseshit is this?
Wait a minute. I will say this much. What you're going to have fun with is when you really get into, and you need to watch, suffer through season 1. That's the only way I can put it. You'll suffer through season 1. But when you get to see Walter Koenig as Bester, oh my God, he does a fantastic job.
In case you didn't recognize the name.
What's that?
Oh. I said Chekhov in case you didn't read the name. Chekhov from Star Trek comes on to Babylon 5 and steals the freaking show.
He does. You want to feel like you love to hate him, and after you watch him, you want to take a shower because you just feel like you're so dirty.
I mean, I like the relationship that the guy, they're weird. They're like Russian. They feel like there's the woman who's Russian, but then there's that one guy with the fan hair. He's bald, has hair that sticks up like this.
Yeah, he's a diplomat. I can't remember his name.
The diplomat. I kind of like him. I like
Rondo Malari. Rondo Malari.
Rondo Malari and Jakar are the 2 best characters in that entire series.
Oh, yeah. I don't like the new Doctor shows up, and he's a dick.
Yeah. If we're just talking about random sci-fi, I love Star Trek Voyager if they just got rid of all the holodeck stuff except for the Doctor holodeck stuff.
No. Wait a minute. Speaking of Voyager, there are 2 things that always piss me off about Voyager. The holodeck and any time travel. I said, hold on. You're in the entire universe and you have to go rely on holodeck crap? I said, this is what happens when you have bad writers.
Yeah, it's like if you could get rid of like 12 episodes of Voyager where they have all that crap, it would be a lot better. Just like totally skip those episodes.
All right, Charlotte, Charlotte, you're gonna have to ban Charlotte. She said Sinclair. Wait a minute.
Yep.
It's better than Sheridan. Oh no, you can't say that. No,
there's sacrilege in the chat.
I know.
Yeah, but yeah, I also kind of warmed up to Deep Space Nine because I thought it was kind of I was like, well, how are they going to make this work? Like, Star Trek wise, but it's like, yeah, it really does. Over just a very few episodes of introduction, like it really does kind of.
Hey, Graham, you caught us just as we're getting ready to close it down. I think.
Oh, I know what I was going to say though. You guys are talking about that show that you were talking about the costumes. That's very interesting that they have a Mary Sue ship. Like, it's not even like a character that's a Mary Sue; it's the ship that they're on because it's just better than every other ship.
What ship?
The Liberator. The Liberator from Blake 7.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, are you talking about Farscape? What ship are we talking about?
Well, with Farscape though, I feel like the ship was a character that was kind of on par with the rest of them. Of course, it's like a whole ship, so it's kind of grandiose, but it has its problems. It's like, and then you have like I don't know. It's so weird because it's like, you have the little frog dude that's kind of like the
Rigel.
Yeah, and then you have what is it like? There's the other puppet. I'm trying to remember because it's been a long time since I've seen the show.
The puppets on that show was Rigel and the pilot.
Yeah.
Then they were there's the little cleaner bots. But
Right.
for the most part, then the rest of them were humans in cosplay.
Yeah, but it's Rigel and the pilot. Well, yeah, Rigel. Well, but Rigel's just like I thought he was. I forgot he's not the pilot. There's actually the other one is the basically part of the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one that can say pilot. That's his only name. I loved Farscape for some of that. I know that some people hated it, but I like the fact because you had non-human aliens on the ship.
I'm of the same mind. I am so fucking tired of humanoid bipedal aliens.
The problem with that though is that I've discovered, maybe it's just a problem with me and people I associate with.
Most likely.
Fifth Element for the win.
Yeah,
I love Fifth Element too.
Yeah.
But the majority of non-human aliens, it appears that most humans can't really think about non-humanoid aliens because they see them as these weird alien creatures that they're not like us, because if they have two arms, they don't even have to have two arms and two legs, but if they have like a general arms next to torso with head on top and then legs beneath it and then arms, if they have that, doesn't matter how many heads, how many arms, how many legs they have, if they have that basic structure, then humans can empathize and think with said alien. But if it's some bizarre creature, we'll see it as some...
You're talking about television and movies, though?
I think it just depends on the communication between the people and the other alien species. I mean, it's like if you can communicate in a way to where you can understand each other, I mean, I don't think you have to... They don't have to be sapient, but you have to have one or the other if you don't have both.
Well, but see, here's my whole point. You're in space. They don't have to be the main characters, but that's the whole point of why I like sci-fi is you have these aliens. The more alien they look, the more you realize.
As a matter of fact, Babylon 5 had one of the greatest non-human aliens in the first season. That insect mantis creature.
Yeah,
I know it was CGI. It was in one episode. I'm like, bring that guy back, and of course, no.
No, you're right. I loved that, but the fact they did that, I loved. The other part is when you start looking at it is the Vorlons were not humanoid in any way, shape, or form. Neither were the Shadows.
I don't know about the Vorlons. The Shadows definitely were not, but the Vorlons, when you see under the hood, so to speak,
they look like one of them. They look like a fucking angel to us.
Well, everyone saw what they wanted to see from the Vorlon.
Right.
So we saw an angel, but other people saw other things from the
Except
Vorlon.
for the one guy, the diplomat, he didn't see shit.
Yeah, because he couldn't. Yep.
Yeah, because he was pretty fucking corrupt.
Yeah, I
but
saw
one of the
that.
one of the greatest characters in the show, right?
No, it wasn't because he was corrupt. It's just because that species never went to that particular planet and fucked with them at all.
Well, he also was corrupted by the Shadow, and that prevented him.
I didn't know that part. I just figured it's because they didn't play what's underneath the hood with that species like they did with everybody else.
Well, see, and Lando Malari is one of those that I love, but I also loved Veer as much as anyone. When Mr. Morgan comes up and he says, Veer, what do you want? He says, I want to live just long enough to see your head put on a pike. So as a warning for the next 10 generations that some deals cost too much. And that's a great speech when you get to watch that.
So
he was kind of an interesting human being. The actor, I don't have time to go into it, but he was a lot more than just the goofball that we usually saw him as.
So really quick, what's going on with Nathan? Is he doing a show tonight?
I have no idea. He was going to investigate a real haunted house tonight, but that got canceled for some reason, and I haven't heard back from him. I just left him a message. That's where I was a minute ago, and I'm gonna keep the show running. I promised him I'd be on his show tonight, but if he's got issues or whatever, I get it. And besides, I never got to answer the friggin' question.
Wait, what?
I never got to answer the damn question.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
you're the host. You don't always get to answer the damn question.
Yeah, you're the host. You don't answer questions. There's a reason I'm no longer sitting next to you.
Oh
I know, right?
What?
Jeez.
God, it almost makes me wish that he had another kid so it could be his favorite.
Yeah.
He has time.
Yeah, you're
He
right.
has time.
Yeah.
Wait, but I assume that means that that Nathan isn't currently streaming at the moment, right?
No, he's not. No, he's not.
What were the?
Yeah, I'm watching my other device to see if he comes on. Cool. But for me, for my answer, to keep it quick and short, I always use some sort of alien thing. Like whether it's a bacteria, a fungus, some sort of alien creature. A giant space amoeba or something like that. I always want to throw something really crazy out there. I grew up reading Creepy and Eerie magazine. I don't know if anybody else out there read those as a kid.
I read those.
black and white.
My uncle gave those to me when I was 6 years old, and that's why I blame that I love D&D so much. Because after seeing those, like, oh yeah, I got it. Those are so cool.
What was that magazine called? Fangula?
Fanghorn or I know what you're talking about. No, this was like Savage Sword of Conan, black and white art, but it was a magazine full of short stories, usually sci-fi or horror, back in the 70s and 80s. Same company that did Vampirella and Panther and the great artwork, Bernie Wrightson and some of the greats like that. But it was always just little short stories. Life Huts that got made into finally got made into a movie or a part of another sci-fi TV show. I think Love, Death, and Robots actually did that as one of the episodes. I think it was that show. Yeah, and it was just full of all kinds of really weird, sci-fi stories, and a lot of times, a lot of the stories I remember were, space travelers would come across some sort of derelict starship, and there'd be some sort of weird living thing that was the culprit in all the stories. Whether it was something, microscopic. I remember one where the ship was just completely overgrown inside and out with this weird green, even though it's black and white, biological thing. And of course, they went and investigated the ship. And of course, they all got contaminated and end up, bringing the contamination over to their ship. And then the same thing happened to them.
Does anyone remember Titan AE?
Yes, the animated show movie.
Okay. Oh, that was just mentioning stuff for space. Shadow.
Creepy and Eerie magazine.
Yep. I remember those, the Creepy magazine, and they would follow the 1930s. I remember watching one of them where the guy turned into a snake because he defiled some pyramid or something like that. So he got cursed.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Wasn't the guy who played fucking Quantum Leap Sam Beckett?
No. This was the cartoon that they later made into probably something else. I'm saying
there was something I was watching.
Yeah, Epic Magazine was another good one.
I never liked heavy metal, to be honest, but that's just me.
Heavy metal was good, but I couldn't always find it. It sold out so well that it was really actually hard to find. And mind you, at the time I had to buy all my comic books at liquor stores, not actual comic book stores, because they weren't around where I lived. But Eerie and Creepy and Vampirella, they'd be on the shelf. And being a rambunctious teenager, those would be I would go for those more than I would go for the superhero comics for the most part, because
I'm with you, Shadow. The only ones I liked were Warlord, somewhat of Conan, though my mother wouldn't let me get the Conan. The other one I liked is, do you remember at the end of Warlord, they also had like a little space one that had like,
Almerac or something like that, or OMAC, the one man Army Corps, and there was the one about basically Atlantis. It was like Cull, but not.
no, this was one after where they did. It was a completely separate comic that was for space, and it had to do with like there were space pirates or something like that, and it was like New Earth, where
Shark Player.
I don't remember what it was called, but you probably remember what I'm talking about, where it was like dying Earth or whatever, where the Earth the sun had expanded and burned the Earth, and then it had contracted again, and whatever was left.
That's not okay. That's not really ringing a bell. Good night, Jackie. We'll see you in the morning. Sleep well, and thanks for hanging out. He's gone.
I gotta be going too soon.
Taco Bell. What's it now? Pizza.
Domino's.
Domino's.
I get a free pizza.
Oh, really? How'd you get the free pizza?
Oh, if you buy like, what is it? 1, 2, 3. I think it's like 4 or 5 pizzas. You get the sixth one is free or something like that.
Oh, okay. You know what I would do is I used to buy what is the thing? It's like a 20-inch pizza. It's something huge, and then I'd eat it for like 4 days.
Does anybody here remember the Bigfoot from Pizza Hut?
I've heard of it.
My favorite is actually French bread pizza because I can make it quicker than regular pizza, and it's crunchy. And I can whip up that like in 15 minutes. Whipping up pizza dough is a lot more involved.
Well, that's true. I liked, when I do eat pizza, I'll always order it, and I always want a white sauce on it, like a garlic butter. No, like a garlic butter or something like that.
Yeah, I got you. Well, I know I'm going to have on Tuesday now. I have a Papa Murphy's that's close to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Shauner's gone. Oh well.
I don't know what's going on. I hope Nathan has a show tonight. He's part of the reason why I'm staying up.
Well, I gotta go get going in a bit too because I have my son's here, so I'm gonna have to put him to bed.
Yeah,
understandable. I say we just call it now. What happened to Kevin?
I don't know. I see an eye peeking out to your right shoulder there.
Oh yeah, that's my son.
Yeah, I know.
I've been waiting for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I guess I didn't see him trying to get back into the show. Okay, Kevin says he's got to dip out. Sorry, Grim. We're gonna cut the show off now. Next week, I hope to see you guys in. I'm not sure what we'll talk about. I think we covered this one. Connell, are you doing time travel this week?
Yeah, Gatekeepers. We're going to be talking about time traveling and how not to shit in the time stream continuum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will not be doing time travel on this show for obvious reasons because I'll be over there, and I think we'll beat that horse to death and into a fine paste by the end of the night.
Shadow,
yo,
I got one quick question for you since we've been talking about space, and right above your head is Twilight Imperium. At some point, you're gonna have to do a review.
I've never played it. Played it.
Oh, okay.
No, I bought it. Believe it or not, I got it 100% complete off eBay for $20.
Oh, wow. That's a great deal. But I was just curious because everyone talks about how great it is. And I was like, okay.
I got 2 players, me and my son, and that's just not enough. And I found out that it takes like 6 to 8 hours to play, and I literally have to rent a hotel to play it.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious.
Wow. Well, thank you, Shadow, for letting me come on your show tonight.
Anytime, buddy.
I know I'm not a big not a big sci-fi guy, but I do watch and read a few of them from time to time.
Well, you'll catch up to us, or you will die trying.
I prefer the line from Starship Troopers. I'll do it until you find I die or you find a replacement.
Mhm.
It's a great book if you read Starship Troopers, but do not expect
It really is. I'm trying to get my son to read it, but here's the rub: it's freaking expensive as hell to find.
What? I thought it was still in print.
Paperbacks are like $25-$30
There's got to be an Audible version
on
of it.
eBay and Amazon. $25-$30 for just the paperback. But I found out that the best way to get books, for those of you still hanging out with us, if you want books, buy lots of books, as in, like a pile of somebody's book collection, because it will go for less than half its actual value, because people just want to buy one book, and when they want to buy that one book, the seller goes, "Oh, you want this one book, huh? Guess what? Ching, 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 ratchet up the price." But if you buy like a lot of books from the same author, they'll end up being like $30 for 15 books. But if you want to buy that one book, it's going to be more than it would cost you for 12 of his books.
Well, I can get by Robert A. Heinlein. Highline. Yeah, I can get on Audible.
Yeah, I if I can't own it, I don't want to, go that route unless I'm, leery about the book. But like a book like that was the first science fiction book I read in the 7th grade. I'd read Doc Savage, and a few other things like that. Some of the pulpy books from back in the day before 7th grade, but that was the very first science fiction book I read. I was 7th grade, however old you are then, and that was it for me. It's like
Heinlein, Isaac Asimov, and Arthur C. Clarke are the ones that are known for bringing the science into science fiction a lot of times. So
Gotcha.
Heinlein is great. He's just weird in some cases, and I'll tell you this much: he never likes to finish a book. He gets tired of writing and just stops it. And you're like, what? Where's the rest of it? That's the way he writes. But the Starship Troopers like 180 pages in paperback. It's a quick read. It only takes.
The Audible says on Audible it says to listen through it. It'll take about 10 hours to listen to all the way through. UR will be joining us tomorrow for
Blade Runner.
Yeah,
we'll see which version. I still remember the theatrical, but I have to. But what's weird is they don't let you watch the old version. I actually like the theatrical the best.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Shadow, for having me on.
No problem, guys. Thanks for everybody for showing up in the chat as well. Kai, you gotta come back on in person, so you and the little guy can, get to know each other, etc. Yeah, come on, Kai. You gotta pop in every once in a while. Yeah, Grim, I'd actually appreciate that if you can find it for like $3-4. Put it in that pile of books, and we'll do that trade we were talking about. But I'm gonna say goodnight to everybody because I want pizza now too, and I'm going to. I know I can't have pizza because it's 9:30 at night, but I'm gonna go find a little something to graze on. But hopefully we can all go over and hang out with Nathan because I'm dying to hear what happened with his haunted house and just hang out with him because I haven't seen him since last week. And
he's
for those of you who don't know, Nathan Allen runs a paranormal show called Quantum, the Quantum Show, or just Quantum. But look for Nathan Allen Quantum, and you'll see all of us weirdos hanging out with him, talking about God only knows tonight. But sometimes it's ghosts, sometimes it's UFOs, or we haven't done Bigfoot yet. That's coming. Atlantis, we've talked about the pyramids, all kinds of weird paranormal stuff, and just to sort of give us a break for the previous week of nonstop gaming. We're going to talk about other stuff that, I like to use to inspire me for gaming. And it's kind of a nice, end of the week palate cleanser so I can get ready for Sunday and Monday and Tuesday gaming. So everybody out there, thanks again for hanging out with us. We will see you again next week, 7 p.m. avocado time. Until then, have a great week and good night, everybody.
Have a good night.